Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Krashy, and today we're going to be diving into a jungle build guide for Greystone. Now, Greystone's kind of like a mid-tier jungler at the moment. We'll talk a little bit about that. But first and foremost, drop a like in the video and subscribe for future Predecessor content. Still a crazy, staggering, 70% of y'all are not subs. So if you like what I do here, I definitely appreciate it. Let's dive into the build guide. So we got to talk about the crest choice first and foremost. The first thing you see when you enter a game, I'm in the practice mode currently, and there are a couple of different crest options that I really like for Greystone, specifically three, actually. If you're going into more of a bruiser build, the goal is not to be the main tank, main frontline, you want to grab Ice Scorn Talons. This item is 10 physical power, 100 health, 10 ability haste, so it's like solid damagey healthy stats, but then it gives you the Glacial Coliseum, the dueling zone. Create an ice sheet around you for 15 seconds. Allies in the sheet deal 15% more damage for 3 seconds. They also gain 15% movement speed for 3 seconds. Enemy units on the sheet are slowed by 15%, and then you deal 30 damage to minions on hit with Creep Slayer. So yeah, this item is incredibly good. It just slows and you're on it, and it gives you the ability to fight around it. It's very, very strong at just getting in and doing damage, which is Greystone's bread and butter, right? Just running in and running at the back line. So keep that in mind. If you're not going to run that, you want to go into the tank crest, and you're either going to run Sapphire's Mantle or Razorback. Razorback is really good if you're going a really big tanky build, because Razorback's going to actually increase your armor, so gaining 25% physical armor and magic armor for 6 seconds. And say you're doing an Overlord build, which I might talk about here, Sapphire's Mantle is solid, but Sapphire's Mantle is always solid. There's a lot of things that scale with health. Sapphire's Mantle, you do damage around your body essentially, and then you're going to increase your health and max size. This is like an infinite scaling item. So these three options are honestly great. I definitely recommend one of those three. So yeah, we'll go ahead and take that. So Greystone has a lot of options, in my opinion. He has a lot of build options, and I do think that it's important to know the different versions of playing Greystone. I'm going to show y'all probably 2 or 3 builds, and then I'll kind of talk about the viability of those builds. So first and foremost, we're going to talk about your standard bruiser kind of build. Now, the standard bruiser kind of build, in my opinion, can be started in 3 different ways. And so there's a layer of subjectivity here, and then there's also a layer of building what you think you need. So in my opinion, you can start a bruiser build with Overlord, you can start it with Basilisk, or you can start it with Fire Blossom. And just because you build Fire Blossom doesn't mean you're a main tank. It just means that you're building Fire Blossom to have an early jungle clear item and have some armor, right? Which, with Greystone, the playstyle is just kind of run at people. Fire Blossom works great. So there's plenty of ways that you can start this. So if you want to go Fire Blossom into Basilisk, that's great. Let me go ahead and get this out of the way. Basilisk is the best item on Greystone. You will build this on him 100% of the time. It doesn't matter if you're doing a damage build, a bruiser build, a tank build. Maybe not. If you're doing a full tank build, you could skip the Basilisk, so you'll build it on him about 90% of the time. Basilisk, let's read it. 40 physical power, 350 health, 15 ability haste, so it's got all the amazing stats. This item's actually just overloaded. Corrode, reduce the physical armor on damaging a hero. Reduce the physical armor by 4 seconds, 4% for 3 seconds. Stacks up to 6 times. At 6 stacks, they become eroded. So keep in mind, you turn on your twirling blade ability, whatever it's called, make way, I think. You're going to be shredding armor. So, and then deal 4% targets missing health as damage when they're eroded. So yeah, this just shreds. This item just does a lot of damage, works really, really well with his kit. So you're going to build this item. Again, I think you could first buy this, you could Fire Blossom second buy this, you could Overlord second buy this. So let's talk about those 2 options, right? If you just want to go straight into a Basilisk build, you're just trying to get this item online and get damage done and go into other items, right? You could go Basilisk into full tank, you could go Basilisk into other bruiser items. If you want to scale an HP bruiser build, you would go Overlord into Basilisk. It's going to be a little bit of a slower start, but Overlord, if y'all are familiar, 30 physical power, 400 health, Colossal Cleave. On successful basic attacks, you deal 2.5% of your health as damage around the target, and then Bludgeon is gained 2.5% of your health as physical power. So this takes all the health that you buy throughout the course of the game and gives it to you. Now, I can't quite remember if it's additional max health or bonus health, but either way, it's going to take some of the health that you get throughout the course of the game and turn it into physical power. So again, for a bruiser build, you can go Fire Blossom Basilisk, Overlord Basilisk, or Basilisk into other items. I really do personally think the Fire Blossom Basilisk version is always solid. Definitely nothing wrong with that. But I've always been a fan of Overlord Basilisk. Now, what could a bruiser build look like? I'm just going to give you some examples. I think a perfect way of doing it potentially is just like filtering by physical and max health. So you can kind of see like the items that are going to give you damage and actually give you health that you can scale into the Overlord. This, you know, again, plays perfectly with Sapphire's, or not Sapphire's Mantle, the Icecorn Talons crest, like we talked about. So like a perfect item in this third slot would be something like Citadel. Citadel is kind of like a nice hybrid item between tank and bruiser. You gain 35 physical power, 200 health, so that health is going to scale into that Overlord. You're going to gain 40 physical armor, and then for each nearby enemy hero, you're going to gain 6 physical armor, and then nearby enemy heroes have their armor decreased by 20%. So you're shredding health and armor with Basilisk, you're reducing armor with Citadel, like you're getting in the backline, you're standing on top of people. This is going to be a very effective item on you. Now, you know, right after that, you know, there's not a lot of great like magic armor items that have physical power and health. In fact, there's none. So you could build like Tainted Blade. Tainted Blade is really good. You could build Augmentation. I think that this item is pretty decent. I don't think it's great on Greystone, to be completely honest, but it's a decent item. Berserker's Axe is decent. I've never tried doing like an early Berserker's Axe on Greystone, or I have tried it, but I didn't think I cared for it too much. Let's talk about Tainted Blade. Look, if you're just sticking with the theme, like just sticking with the Bruiser theme, right? You're not looking to build any tanky items per se, which you definitely could, by the way. Like I think that Greystone's build is super wide open. You could just come in here and, you know, and just pick up a Crystalline Cuirass, right? Fourth slot Crystalline Cuirass, if you're already doing damage, this doesn't necessarily make you a tank. It just makes you stronger, and you're going to scale some of this damage into your Overlord. 300 health, or 350 health, 60 magic armor, 10 ability haste, gain a stack of Celestite for 5 seconds, stacks up to 6 times. Stacks can only be gained once every 0.5 seconds. And then Celestite is gained 5 magic armor per stack, and at 6 stacks gain 15% movement speed. So you can build this to be a little bit more durable to magic damage, and then run them down with the movement speed. That's perfectly fine. Or like I said, you could go into say something like a Tainted Blade, and the Tainted Blade is 45 physical power, 275 health, 15 ability haste, and then reduce the target's healing by 40%, so that's your Tainted. But then you have on dealing ability damage to a blighted target, cause them to take 10% more damage. So you know, as you're running around giving them blight, and you're doing ability damage to them, then they're going to take more damage. So you're running in and turning your make way on and twirling and hitting people, they're just going to start taking more damage to everything. So keep this item in mind. I think for a bruiser build, I'm going to just keep it at the 3 slot. Let you guys play around with the items. Like Salvation, maybe not terrible. Again, you can go into some tanky items in the last 2 slots. This is solid. So keep in mind, you could do something like Basilisk straight into this build. You can go Overlord straight into this build, or you can go Fire Blossom straight into this build. All right. For full tank Greystone, which to be honest, even with full tank, you might just pick up Basilisk because he's not really just a full tank, and Basilisk is just so good on him. So like if you're playing like tank Greystone, say we have a Sapphire's Mantle or a Razorback, you could go Fire Blossom into the Basilisk, and then you can just instantly start going toward armor items, right? And this is where it's like, it truly is hard for me to tell you exactly what to buy because it's so game dependent. Like if you're in a lead and you want to get a little bit of damage for yourself, you can pick up an Elefrost in 3rd slot. Let's say they have a Chimera, a Narbash, a Crunch, a, you know, a Phase, some kind of healing. You can go straight into Tainted Guard. If they have, like, say they have 2 of those, like Countess, Sevarog, and Chimera, you know, something like that, you can go straight into double Tainted because you could pick up Tainted Guard and go into magic option for Tainted Bastion. And let me explain this interaction for some of y'all that maybe don't understand it. You're not stacking the anti-healing. That's not possible. But on the Colossus passive for Tainted Bastion, it's mitigate 5% of damage taken, and it's doubled against blighted targets. So if targets are blighted, that's 10% damage mitigation. You're going to be blighting them on autos because of Tainted Guard. You're going to be blighting them on magic damage because of Tainted Bastion. So you would effectively basically almost always have 100% uptime on that 10% mitigation, and then you get good stats. So definitely something to keep in mind. Like a double Tainted option is very, very tanky. If they're a very CC heavy team, you know, you want to pick up an Unbroken Will. Crystalline Cuirass is always good as a magic armor option for Greystone because it's the kind of run them down item. So you get my point. Like it's very hard for me to just tell you like a full tank build, and I can do it, but I would more so just educate you on the options that are very viable. If you want to scale, like say you want to be fully tanky, like you're trying to play fully on armors, you pick up the Razorback because you know that pressing the Razorbacks can increase your armors. You could drop the Basilisk and you could just build these 3 items. You could go like Fire Blossom into double Tainted, and then double Tainted directly into like a Stonewall. Or say you don't need the Tainted, say it's not, anti-healing's not on the table for you, you don't need it early, you go Fire Blossom straight into Stonewall, straight into Crystalline Cuirass. This is like such a strong start. If they have Steel, say they have a bunch of CC, drop the Crystalline Cuirass, go into Unbroken Will, because this is also going to increase your armors by 30% on being immobilized. So you get my point. When it comes to building tanks, you just have to know what tank items are like really good and what items are like really applicable to who you're playing, and then just play it how you want. So I feel like I've definitely given you some solid options. I'm going to show you one more option, and it's like a for fun build. So, you know, take it with a grain of salt. You can go Ice Scorn Talons if you want, or you could do like Ortis if you want from the Assassin Crest. And there's like some pretty fun like physical damage items that you can build, starting with Basilisk. So Basilisk is like a really great item. Obviously, you know that. And then if you could build an Infernum, this is like a full damage Greystone. Again, very much so a for fun build. Infernum is 40 physical power, 6 physical pen, 250 mana, 15 ability haste, and apply stacks of kindling to targets for 2.5 seconds. At 3 stacks, deal 15 plus 90% of your physical power damage over 2 seconds. So as you're just running in, you're just like burning them, right? Literally burning them. Then your third item could be a Perforator. Perforator is going to be your percent pen item. We know this item for Assassins and like Twin Blast and such. 40 physical power, 6 physical pen, 20 ability haste. Chilling spells on dealing ability damage slow by 25%. So as you run in, you're going to slow them for 25%, reduce to 10% for all dots, and then you're going to ignore their physical armor. And then I think that the Tainted Blade plays perfectly into this. It gives you like a little bit of durability, or like a Mutilator or something like that. Like if you really want to play around with the Q and the Make Way ability and like using like items that affect that ability specifically, you could do something like Tainted Blade or like a Mutilator. So Mutilator is ability hits on heroes, apply Mutilate 3 times, steals 5% of their max health for 20 seconds, occurs once per target, and then this also gives you Omnivam. So you'll turn your Q on and you'll get like a little bit of healing, but it also just steal their health. So like if say you dive into a pack of like 5 of them, you turn your Q on and you're just going to steal a bunch of health. I think Citadel would be good. You get the point, right? Like this is kind of like a damage foundation for Greystone. Again, a for fun build. Definitely not something you're going to pick up in the majority of your games. But friends, there you have it. Let me end this on what I think is like probably one of the more appropriate builds to build on him. I think going like full Bruiser with like a Basilisk Fire Blossom start is very good. And then you can go into all kinds of like items like this, and then, you know, build like a Crystalline Cuirass or something if you want to kind of round out your potential armors. Maybe move that Tainted Blade up or back depending on whether or not you need it, with like an Ice Scorn Talon, something like that. So friends, thank you so much for watching. I hope that this was decently educational and just kind of opens your minds to the options out there. I could slap 5 items on the screen and give it to you, but I would rather teach you the items and talk about like what's viable on the hero. So drop a like on the video, subscribe for future Predecessor content. As always, be sure to be kind to one another, tell someone you love them, and I'll see you on the next video.